and research. In this marriage, that means is a connection between teaching and research. That means bringing your own research or others' research in the classroom to discuss, or involving students in any research projects. So it's kind of inquiry-based learning, that is problem-based learning or work-based learning. This connection is traced back to that advocated by von Humboldt in the 19th century. But recently, globally, research-informed teaching is becoming a key discussion topic. Many universities have argued the importance of enhancing the relationship. For example, proposing different pilot studies of research projects and then finding out the case studies. Those are the best practices on research-informed teaching. So it indicates a commitment to excellent teaching across the sector. Now, while some may see the central role of many universities is to be teaching, but teaching and research are interconnected to what Jenkins and Haley believe and call the term teaching research nexus. And in the UK, the new teaching excellence framework provides a mechanism to measure and reward excellent teaching. While this may take different forms, one of the forms can be research-informed teaching. So this also promotes that teaching needs to be research-informed, effective teaching. As seen in different case studies on research-informed teaching, it shows that it offers benefits to students, to staff, and to higher education institutions as a whole. So the arguments are like, students can access the benefits from the exposure to teaching-informed research or research-informed teaching. We believe, according to the Minister of State for Lifelong Learning, he mentioned that we believe an understanding of the research process, asking the right questions the right way, conducting experiments, and collating and evaluating information must be a part of undergraduate curriculum. And the authors Haley and Jenkins, who were the proponent expert on research-informed teaching, they also argue that the task now is to reinvent or reinvigorate the curriculum to ensure that all undergraduate students in all higher education institutions should experience learning to and about research and inquiry. The key strategy for us is to facilitate the integration of undergraduate research and inquiry into the curriculum. According to Haley and Jenkins, the reasons behind research-informed teaching in undergraduate or graduate levels are focuses on the student as learner. Sorry, am I audible?
Yeah, maybe.
You are audible.
Sorry, yeah, thank you. And also it explicitly brings the student into the worlds of research. It views the student as potential producer of knowledge, not only just the consumer of knowledge. It potentially values all academic and support staff, the teaching staff. It may also help to break down institutional firewalls between teaching and research. So it bridges the gap between teaching and research. So this can be the one of the effective ways to enhance the linkage between teaching and discipline-based inquiry or research. And the goal is to develop students as participants in research and inquiry so that they become the producers, not just the consumers of knowledge. what benefits the nexus between teaching and research can offer? There are a number of benefits of linking research into our teaching. It involves students as more active learner, even agent of knowledge generation. And bringing practical research into higher education teaching can also enhance students' interest in the course, as they are able to see how their studies could lead to real world application in research work. So students benefit from the experience of learning about cutting-edge research direct from the person who is conducting when the teacher shares their experience of doing it, conducting research. And the students learn from their experiences. And this also creates opportunities for staff-student partnerships for a more productive and effective higher education. Students can also disseminate their graduate research by poster presentations or oral presentations, and this can boost their presentation and communication skills. Explaining research to a non-expert audience is also instrumental to encourage future public engagement of the students. And this experiential learning can increase student satisfaction, creating a sense of belongingness to the university or college, and developing intellectual curiosity, as well as research and communication skills, according to Higher Education Academy, UK. And the experience as a whole has also direct impact on student performance, and finally on students' employability, as seen in some of the case studies on research-informed teaching. So these are the benefits students can get from this link in teaching and learning. Now, what could be the benefits for teachers? So researcher teachers who are able to combine their research with high quality teaching can benefit from this dual role, eventually leading to teaching as well as research excellence. For higher education staff, incorporating aspects of their own research into teaching can provide an opportunity to raise awareness in the area of expertise on research. And teaching of research concepts even can provide the opportunity for researchers to try out research ideas and make sense of ideas by talking and probing questions and sometimes unexpected perspectives from students. So having different perspectives on the ideas and processes, and this can lead to new research ideas and directions for the thesis. Thus, this helps teachers' personal and professional development as a teacher as well as a researcher. For many academics, a strong connection between research and teaching in their teaching is an essential part of their job satisfaction, especially in the higher education. And also in the higher education employment market, it is often essential to be able to perform to a high standard, not only as a researcher, but also as a teacher. Not only as a teacher, but also a researcher. That means as both, we're expected to do better as a teacher and as a researcher. Now, what can be the benefits of higher education institutions? So in higher education institutions, it seems staff research and student teaching are two distinct activities, so they are separate. And this can obstruct the aim of bringing a research orientation to teaching in higher education. However, if the separate frameworks like research excellence framework and teaching excellence framework, for example, in the UK, are intended to improve quality in higher education, then why not bringing them together when they can support each other and to do this improvement in quality in higher education holistically? Now, linking research to teaching activities can potentially drive improvement in both areas, with research supporting teaching and teaching supporting research. So it's like mutual benefit. Having separate policies for research and teaching risks creating false dichotomy. So it seems research and teaching are two separate things. But the brace can be, this gap can be bridged by the nexus between teaching and research. So this nexus is necessary to bridge the gap between the seemingly dichotomy of research and teaching for a well-rounded higher education. Now here is now I'll focus on how research can be incorporated into our teaching. I'll be talking about different methods of doing it. So before that, can I just ask you to participate in a short survey, very short survey.
I think you need to share it in the chat box so that they could open it.
Yeah, I'm just doing that. It will take just 30 seconds or 1 minute. Answers are coming. Can you please participate? In academic writing. More responses are coming. Ten responses so far. More coming. Okay. Are you done? Okay, so yeah, lots of responses so far. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, yes, ma'am.
so yes, out of the responses, it shows like 80% of the participants who have participated in this survey have said yes, they use it, and 9.5% said no, 9.5% said maybe. So they are not sure whether they are using this. Okay, so let's see what are the courses you are using research informed teaching. So it looks like, yeah, teaching, listening, and speaking skills as I did in my classes. And then academic writing, ELT, and then addressing learning differences. Wow, probably including strategies and styles. Then literature and critical thinking, language teaching, writing courses, second language acquisition. Wow, this is really impressive that lots of people are using this research informed teaching, all in different techniques. So we can see that majority of people are using research-led teaching, that is learning about current research in the discipline. It encompasses the content, the key areas, and then the findings the teacher and students are talking about. So this is of highest rate. And which one is the late? That's research tutored, okay, engaging in research discussions. Okay. Okay. I just wonder how some of you have said you have used research-based technique methods, that is undertaking research and inquiry. So I'm not quite sure if it is for which module. Are you talking about research methods or research skills modules for MA or undergraduate students? Okay, probably yes. Okay, let's have a look. Let me stop sharing this one. And I'm sharing my slides now. And I'll be talking about different methods we can use. Basically, the key 4 methods we can use in research-informed teaching. So yes, the 4 you have seen in the Google Form survey. One is research-led teaching, another one is research-oriented teaching, and then research-based teaching and research-tutored teaching. So among them, the research-based one is like involving students as participants, that means participants in research, that means creating opportunities for them to engage in research studies as learner researcher. Okay, so the first two, research-led teaching and research-informed teaching. So research-led teaching has an emphasis on the content of the research, that it is in contrast with research-oriented teaching, which has an emphasis on the research process itself. So the research-led teaching focuses on the content, areas of research, and then findings. It can be our own research or other research related to the topic. And then research-oriented ones focuses on the processes, the skills, methods, techniques used. So what's the former one provides an opportunity for the students to learn about current research being conducted in the relevant discipline, that is research-led teaching, but the later one, that is research-oriented teaching, enables students to develop their skills and techniques to do further research or understand research. Now, both of these approaches, methods, treat students mostly as an audience. So the teacher is discussing and students are just listening or acquiring knowledge from the teacher. Now, the next two types of strategies are research-tutored teaching and research-based teaching. So in research-tutored teaching, it involves undertaking research and inquiry. That means, on the other hand, research-based teaching involves engaging in discussions. So research teaching returns to an emphasis on the content of the research, but encourages students to actively participate and engage in research discussions. So research-based teaching, on the other hand, gives students the opportunity to actively participate in undertaking research and inquiry with a focus on the research process itself. In these two approaches, students are treated as participants. As you can see in this model offered by Haley and Jenkins 2009, this is a model based on the nature of undergraduate research and inquiry. In this model, you can see two axes, X and Y, and they show the distinction between how the students are involved. In Y-axis, you can see students or participants on top, and at the bottom, you can see students frequently are an audience. On the X-axis, you can see the emphasis on research processes and problems, and emphasis on research content. So it looks like research-based teaching is undertaking research and inquiry by the students themselves. So this is more as participants, and it also focuses on the processes and problems to do the research, to undertake the research. On the other hand, research-led teaching is focusing more on content, and students are more like audience. However, these methods are interlinked. We cannot separate one from another. So in higher education, relatively too much teaching and learning is in the bottom half of the model, while students should learn or can benefit from spending more time in the top half. Using a wide variety of methods of learning and assessment is a sensible strategy, in fact, to respond to the mixture of different preferred learning styles that characterize the students in our courses. So we can propose all the methods in different forms. All four ways of engaging students are valid and valuable, and curricula should contain elements of all of them. And the four ways of engaging students with research and inquiry are not independent, not distinctly separated. The way the four approaches are interlinked together is critical in the design of effective courses and programs. How they are interlinked, for example, if we look at research-based teaching, that means students are involved in carrying out the research. That means it also facilitates the learning and discussion of the research skills, processes, and methods. And that's why they are overlapping and dependent on each other. Now, there are different case studies on research-informed teaching to promote the link between research and teaching. And higher education institutions globally, not only in the UK, tends to enhance the nexus, as the case studies indicate the potential benefits for students, for staff, and for higher education institutions. The University Alliance and the UK Higher Education Academy, also called Advanced Higher Education, have collated a series of short courses of the examples of best practices on research-informed teaching. You can see the case studies and read them, how they are and what benefits they bring from this link when I share with you later. Now, one of the case studies can be from University of Surrey. So in this study, 4 different methods of research-led, research-oriented based, and tutored are in an interlinked way used in a second year lecture on a social work course. So in this lecture, in this course, the teacher and the students spend the first half of a lecture outlining the research problem and setting it in a theoretical context. So that can be defined as research-led teaching. And then seemingly they went on to outline some of the different methods and techniques that might be used to investigate the research question, the problem. So this can be the research-oriented teaching. And then the teacher, the lecturer, sent her students in small groups to the library to undertake a secondary research investigation on the problem, looking at the literature available and to research the topic, how it had been addressed in existing literature. So this is kind of a practical research orientation, because students will be doing secondary research here. So it's kind of research-based teaching. And finally, they discussed with the students, the teacher discussed with the students in their small groups the following week, how they had gone about the searching the library, methods used in the research studies, and the main findings and unresolved issues, with the gaps within them. So this can be research tutored teaching. So this example has shown how different methods can be incorporated in single course. Now, another case study is from University of Portsmouth. Here, the students were treated as researchers. So learning happens while becoming a researcher. So here, research-based learning module. This was a research-based learning module of level 5 of 20 credit, but this was optional to their main curriculum, undergrad students. And the students, in this module, the students' roles were delivering and evaluating randomized controlled trials. That means they will be treating with the control groups and experimental groups for an experiment. The aim is to develop the students for, equipped for research jobs, particularly advertised by the staff, but they can also apply for other jobs, research jobs, research assistant, associate, etc. So it seems that around 50 students on an average take this course each year. And they also get a small bursary to carry out this research module. And the assessment was learning portfolio, how they meet the learning outcomes of this module. And this module, although it was optional, was very, very successful. And the university is now offering level 6 module on this. And the feedback from the students and observers and other parties revealed that there was a development of respectful and mutually beneficial relationship between teachers and staff, who is eventually promote student-staff partnership. Here is another case study that is at University of Oxford, and they have created an idea of subject families to help integrate undergrad students and postgrad students with research staff and academics within the college. And periodically, these students and staff, they come together to talk about their related subjects and the research, existing research on these subjects, and the staff also showcase their own current research. The changes have also opened up opportunities to develop interdisciplinary links among the colleagues and students, and for undergraduates to appreciate better the research done by the staff, so they can appreciate the research done by their teachers or staff. And this can definitely create an opportunity of pursuing research career later by the students. And there are also many UK institutions who offered research skills certificates by the time they are acquiring and developing research skills in the university throughout their MA or BA or PhD course. So one of them can include personal development plan that I did at York University. So it's kind of recording what they are acquiring. And these skills are related to employment. And we can see such type of institutional skills certificate awards from the University of Warwick and York to help students identify and develop their graduate attributes, skills to involvement in research. So it is kind of creating value-added graduates.
You are muted.
Yeah, somebody did it, not me. Okay, so now I can share my experiences of incorporating research in my teaching. So at Kumilla University, while teaching English 4 skills, specifically listening and speaking, I brought my own research findings because my PhD was on metacognition and EFL listening. So I brought the parts of my PhD that focuses on the strategies students can use and how they can be aware of these strategies and use them in their teaching and learning. So basically this is the module for the pre-service teachers. So how they can incorporate strategies in their teaching to teach listening better. And then at York University, I facilitated a small scale research project. So the students from education, particularly psychology and education students, they did a small scale research by interviewing the staff members, I mean the academic staffs in the university, I mean in the Department of Education, and create a newsletter for them based on their key and current research project undergoing. And this project was basically monitored and offered by the careers to improve students' employability skills. So this was really helpful for the students and for me as well as a facilitator. And finally, again from the York University, when I was teaching a module, planning and communicating research, I used research-informed teaching to promote student engagement in the classroom. And this is, and I also published my experiences of doing it in an article co-authored by Laura Oxley. You can see this from Higher Education Pedagogies, and the title is Promoting Student Engagement by Strengthening the Link Between Research and Teaching. And this is from an early career researcher perspective. So here we try to reflect on our research-informed teaching while teaching MA modules in 2 terms, autumn terms, which was a series of seminar workshops run by Laura Oxley, and the next term, spring term, I ran a number of workshops on developing research proposal. And this is also part of our professional development to become, to find academic career in higher education. So it is also part of the York Learning and Teaching Award designed for new and aspiring academics. And it also works towards becoming an associate fellow of the Higher Education Academy. So on successful completion of this course, we became the Associate Fellow of Higher Education Academy, and later tried to publish this article based on our experiences. So the teaching context, as I mentioned briefly, is that Laura Oxley facilitates seminars for master's level module research methodology in education, including TESOL, with focus on understanding the types, research types, theories, and methods. And I facilitated workshops on another master level module, planning and communicating research in the spring term, with the same cohort of students who were developing research skills for their MA dissertation. So in my workshop, I facilitated planning a research project with the end aim of preparing a research proposal for their own MA dissertation. So this also includes creating information and consent forms and completing ethics audit form. So while the first module is mostly theoretical, the second one was very practical. And in this paper, we tried to show how we try to use research-informed teaching to promote student engagement, basically, because fostering student engagement in the classroom is one of the important classroom dynamics in facilitating successful learning. And we believe that this nexus between research and teaching can be a fruitful path for promoting engagement and better learning experience in higher education. And we tried to engage students with us as teachers, with their peers, and the materials. And this was promoted by incorporating research into teaching, and we found it very useful and motivating. And it was also very motivating for the students, as reflected in their feedback. So how we incorporated research into our teaching? So we were able to share our own experiences in research with the students and offer constructive guidance on conducting their own research. So in autumn term, Laura was able to draw on personal experience of using a variety of research methods, and then could engage the students with discussions of how these methods can be applied in the real world. And this can be an example of research-oriented teaching. Laura also asked the students to design and carry out a short interview prior to one seminar and a short written survey prior to another. And this was an example of a very small scale research teaching in action. The students actively participating to learn about research processes. And in my case, I was able to engage students in learning about research design and methods while being actively involved in preparing a demo research proposal with a view to creating their own research proposals for MA dissertation next term. So this was an example of both research-oriented and research-based teaching. So students have been offered with some ideas on TESOL that are current in this area. So based on those ideas, very like abstract, it's not abstract, sorry, it's a summary of something like motivation, teacher behavior and motivation. So once they have been offered with some topics, they try to design a research proposal based on the workshops we have run on steps by steps creating research proposal. As such, we can say that the 4 ways of engaging students with research and inquiry are not independent, because while creating this proposal, they are also revising or learning research design methods and processes. And the proposed topic ideas were chosen from existing MA projects, as I said, in the department. So students had a direct idea of types of research work in the department and how they have been conducted. And again, while producing these proposals, students were motivated by teachers. I mean, my experiences of developing my own PhD proposal and bringing my own proposals to offer a sample structure for the students. So it was beneficial for the students. The students seemed more enthusiastic and attentive, as seen in their feedback and also the observers' feedback. And our experiences on this program also informed our developing teaching practice and stimulated an interest basically on research-informed teaching practice. And being inspired, we also presented these ideas on different symposium and learning forum at York. And finally, our interest in research-informed teaching led us to produce a paper on this, as you can see here. And we also tried to see each step of our teaching while incorporating research in teaching also follows Bloom's taxonomy, such as from revising the research terms learned in previous module to deciding on their own research questions, design methods, and data collection tools for practice research proposals. Thus confirms, our research practice conforms to evidence-informed teaching. However, we also acknowledge that some students may struggle with the research-informed teaching if they are not exposed to such type of research and inquiry in their previous institutions. But we believe that it can be overcome with supportive and inclusive teaching practice. Now, as a final word, I can say that students can become producers, not just consumers of knowledge in research-informed teaching. And this can help them to be value-added graduates towards enhanced employability. However, we need to develop policies and practices and strategies for graduate research, including target research opportunities for the students and also involving students from underrepresented groups, and also creating some funding opportunities for graduate research, and bringing this research and teaching can be an innovative and effective practice in higher education. And this research-informed teaching can eventually promote teaching excellence. And it also promotes teacher professional development, not only as a teacher, but also as a researcher. However, some may argue that there are conflicting demands on time for research and teaching, but by intertwining research and teaching, this pitfall can be avoided. So the same person sharing his or her research with the students while teaching, so a connection can minimize these conflicting demands on time. And to develop and achieve this nexus, all parties, including academic staff, course leaders, department heads, higher education policymakers, all of them need to come together to develop the appropriate curricula and co-curricula to promote research-informed teaching for a well-rounded higher education to take place. Thank you very much for listening. Do you have any questions?
Okay, thank you very much, Tasnima Aktar, for your wonderful, nice presentation. It was really nice, very simplified and well elaborated. And you have discussed how to link research and education. The findings, the ideas you have shared are equivalent or relevant to not only the British context, they are relevant to our context as well. And you have discussed And why the research-led teaching or research-oriented teaching is beneficial for learners, teachers, and institutions. And I believe this will add a new paradigm in language teaching and teaching and in general. Okay, thank you for sharing it. I think we have a couple of minutes for discussion. I would like to request all the participants to share your observations or any queries. The floor is open, please. You can write the questions on chat box or you can orally ask the questions.
I can see a question in the chat box. Let me read aloud. So thank you for so much for the insightful and interactive presentation. I agree that there should be a marriage between teaching and research in higher education. Could you tell us how can we make the marriage long-lasting and meaningful? I mean that how can scholars increase the relevance of their research, which will really be meaningful not only for the teaching settings, but also for the whole human society. Thank you very much, Damar Singh, for this question. It's really an interesting question in terms of sustainability. So I'll say, why do we teach and why do we research? It's for the benefit of the society, right? For the benefit of the human beings as human beings, not only as students. So in that case, we research the problems to solve, we try to solve the problem. And in teaching, we try to encourage students to solve this problem. It can be various language problems or other problems. So I believe it's bringing research into teaching can help. It's not only my own research, because I'm not expert on all areas of the curriculum. So probably if it is, if my research is not relevant to the topic I'm teaching today, I can bring other research and discuss how they have developed the ideas and trying to solve the problem related to the issue. So as a whole, we as academic staff and students are basically trying to understand the meaning of everything and try to solve the problem. So in this world, in human life, we have problems. So as long as the problems goes on, the connection between research and teaching can go on. So I will say it's not only just giving ideas of research among the students, but making students more inquisitive and curious and of inquiry mind, so they can be creative, yeah, and then they can be productive, and they can find that they are the agent of knowledge generation. And that's why I believe this link can actually sustain in our education, and probably we should give more focus on it based on the context we have in the available resources we have and the capacity we have. And we can develop the capacity within the context. Thank you very much. Is that clear?
Well, there is another question from Krishna Prasad. It asks, I think in research-led teaching, the students should be more active than the teachers. Then how to activate learners? This is also one of the challenges in our context too. It is inquiry and observation.
Which question? Okay, that's by Krishna, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Krishna, for the question. So I think in research-led teaching, the students should be more active than teacher. Then how to activate learners? This is also one of the challenges in our context too. Yes, as we can see that there are different methods of incorporating research. So one can be, I mean, research-led teaching is a umbrella term for all these different methods. And as you can see, some methods are more student-oriented than other methods. So in some methods, students are more passive, and teachers are more active, but in other methods like teacher-based, students are more active like researcher. So depending on the context and constraints, we can focus on any of them. Sometimes we can just invite them as like audience, but other times we can invite them to be more actively participant. And from our experience, we believe that the course, the teaching and learning becomes more interesting and motivating when we involve them actually in the process, because the end point is basically to create them to solve the problem, to develop the creativity in them. Yeah. So yeah, what challenges you mean? Do you think it's time consuming? In classes, we do invest lots of time for lecturing, but we can divide our time. So little bit lecture and then engaging them into the process, and through the process, they can eventually learn the processes and skills they need. So I believe this is doable, but from the part of the teacher, they need to prepare themselves and prepare the lesson very carefully so they can involve the students in very small scale research. Just go there and see what is happening and then report it, or go there and interview a few people on this topic. Go there and see what are they doing in terms of their research or teaching or other stuff. So it can start with very small scale research within the modules you are teaching, and finally, it can involve a large scale research like graduate research, like end of the term submissions or MA dissertation. Does it explain your question, Krishna?
Excuse me, madam.
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. What I mean here is that if we teachers start research-led teaching activities in our class, the students should be active than the teachers themselves. Then how to activate them for the teaching and learning activities? The teachers should be the active himself or herself. However, the students should be actively participate in the teaching and the learning activities. Then this is one of the challenges here too. And then teachers
Make them
are
active,
being
right?
know that the active what we say, that the active presenter in the classroom, then the students just listen what teacher vomit. How can we change such maybe situations by involving these students through this umbrella term? That is my question.
Yeah, that's what that was your question, and try to address it. That you need to design your lesson plan in such a way that there can be activities like project-based learning, for example, yeah, problem-solving learning. So getting students involved in different activities and encourage them to do it by their own, by going to different places, for example, yeah. So by offering them these opportunities, will also encourage them and motivate them to be active. And probably you can just devise a project for them. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yes. Even it can be, if it is not empirical study, I mean, using primary data, but they can also create some assignments on an interesting topic by doing secondary research, by reading different articles, bring different articles on the topic, yeah, and devise your questions in such a way that they will find the answers of those questions from the research articles, yeah, and they will also come up with some limitations of these articles on this topic. So this is really motivating. Probably you can try in the classroom. And this is not only in the classroom, it involves lots of self-study at home, before the lecture and after the lecture.
Thank you, madam, for making my queries clear. I am really grateful to your presentation. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Well, if there are any observations, any participant would like to share? I think we have 2 or 3 minutes left. Well, it looks like there are no observations and no queries. And let us wrap up this. And finally, I would like to thank.
Ram, sir,
Yes, yes.
we have the time there. So though Professor Richard is here, but maybe he needs some time. So let's have 1-2 more queries. And I have a query, Dr. Tasnima Aktar. The query is,
please.
Teacher research is pivotal, undoubtedly, no doubt. But still we have seen in developing countries, there's a blind practice of teaching without research. So, and you are from such a society where the teacher research is quite prevalent. So how do you demarcate this sort of difference, a dichotomy, we could say? And what do you suggest to the people, those who just have a, blind teaching practices without research? Please, your opinion.
Thank you very much for your questions. As you can see, I'm from Bangladesh, right? And I was brought up and I was educated and I taught in Bangladesh for like a decade. So I have experiences of the context we have. And now I'm in UK, that's different. So as you can see that there are lots of projects going on, even in India, Nepal, and even in Bangladesh earlier on teacher research, So these teachers are trying to understand their own thesis, how to solve the problems within the teaching they are doing. But in research-led teaching, we try to involve the students in research process and we try to develop them as a researcher at the end point to solve any problems in the classroom or outside the classroom. So yes, what you have said is true that our teaching is mostly teaching oriented and we just talk a lot, like our teachers talking time is really, really huge. But how much students can get it from just hearing to you? Don't we think that by doing something, they can learn better and they can be more motivated? So as I said that, well, if we want to make a change, we need to do it by devising appropriate planning of the lessons and the learning outcome of the curriculum. It's not just knowing this, but there should be some outcomes that doing this. So in this way, we can try changing our curriculum, we can try changing our teaching practices by seeing the students as more active learner, and this can make them the agent of learning in higher education for offering better and more effective and productive higher education, not only in the UK, but also in our context, in our Asian context. And if we believe it, we can try it and try to make a change. Thank you.
The context of Bangladesh and even of Nepal is a kind of similar. We have students from Bangladesh at Kathmandu University, and one of the students, Krishna Datta, has been teaching to my students at Kathmandu online. What she said is that when she started the project work, she felt that the project work makes them a bit more active. But as she said, we have to teach nearly 6 periods a day, and teaching 6 periods and researching is quite difficult. So do you have some ideas regarding it also? How can it go for the check and balance, researching, teaching, and creating conducive environment for students to work as a researcher and learner?
I understand, as I was mentioned in my talk, that there's a conflicting demands on teaching on the one hand and then research on the one hand. But if we make this together, if we always talk about our research in the classroom, or our classroom can be informed by other research, so we can try to make a bridge between this dichotomy. So as you said, you are more busy with teaching probably, but what I mentioned that making research as part of your teaching, so it's not all the techniques of good teaching, but it's one of the techniques of better teaching practices in the higher education. So we can try it.
Thank you, ma'am. Amazing sharing, really. Okay. Yes,
I don't know whether I can explain it, but
No.
yes, my teaching was different initially in couple of years, but then gradually I changed my teaching technique to make it more relevant, first of all, and then active and motivating for the students by incorporating personal experiences on this topic, on doing research and involving them in any kind of problem-based or inquiry-based or work-based learning. So it's kind of actually research-informed teaching. So I'm trying to change myself, and I believe we all teachers can try our different approaches and what works better for us. Probably this can be one of the better ways, better teaching techniques for higher education at least.
There's still a lot to change here because we have been following, a kind of the teaching system is like one size fits all. We just, this ideology is like a conduit of banking system around. So changing is tough, but yeah, we need to try with it.
Yeah, we always need to try. This is the problem, so we need to do research to try to solve the problem, right?
Yes,
Thank
exactly.
you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Well,
Yes.
very nice. Okay, let's wrap up it. Thank you, Dr. Tasnima, once again for being with us and for sharing your valuable ideas with us. And I hope we will be collaborating with each other in future too. And thank you all participants as well. And I would like to extend my best wishes for you, ma'am, for your future professional and personal career as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much for inviting me and listening to me and bearing with me. Thank you.
Well, and now I have to hand over this floor to Janak sir. Over to you, Janak sir.